Hey guys, it is Radlin and John from Gardner and Mendoza with our weekly Facebook Live at 6 p.m. to give you all kinds of immigration and court updates. And we have quite a bit to talk about today.
How's everybody doing out there?
Hopefully awesome, beautiful day today here in Virginia Beach. A bit humid, but no complaints. We didn't hang out outside, but we did walk outside to go to our car, to the office, back in the car, and back into home. So we felt a little bit of it. Anyhow, what are we talking about today?
Okay, well, we've got a bunch of things on tap. One of the things that we are going to talk about is the decision regarding DACA. I'm sure that many of you have heard about that. That's the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival case that was recently decided by the Supreme Court. A good result, not a great result, but a good result. We have another executive order from the Trump administration that was signed on June 24th, or went into effect on June 24th.
Yep.
We're going to have some Virginia court updates and some immigration law updates. And we're going to talk about phase 3, which is supposed to start on July 1st here in Virginia for the openings. And of course, all of your questions, and that's the best part. Hopefully folks will submit questions. That's what we like to do the most, is to field questions on the fly, put Radlin's immigration knowledge to the test. She passes every single time.
No, I don't. I don't know all the answers, unfortunately, but I can find out the answers. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I definitely don't know all the answers, but that's okay. We work together, we work on it. That's why we have a team. And anyhow, I'm going to let you jump right into the U.S. Supreme Court decision about DACA. John read this case. He read it twice. It's 74 pages.
Yes.
I did not read the case. I read the summary. And John explains things very well to me, and that's why I did not read the case, because he did. So,
well, it was a 74-page opinion. That includes the concurring opinions and the dissenting
that's not even
opinions.
that long, actually.
I did read all of it, and I'm going to try to distill it down because this case is a really, really interesting case procedurally. How it gets here, the things that go back and forth, and how it ultimately ends up in the Supreme Court. A lot went on. I'm not going to go through all of that because for our purposes here, it doesn't really matter. But the case is Department of Homeland Security versus Regents of University of California. They were the folks who sued. And basically, just as a very brief review, and this comes from the opinions of Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice, wrote the opinion for the court. It was a 5-4 decision. It was a contentious case, I will say. The dissenting opinions were brutal. And so this fight is far from over, I think, but at least for now it is over, and that's a good thing for our clients.
When you say for now, are we talking about for a couple weeks? Are we talking about a couple months? Are we talking about a year? What's your prediction?
I don't know about a year, but certainly several months, and then even then the decisions wouldn't come out. They wouldn't rule on it until next summer, so we've got a reprieve. Certainly for now, certainly through the next presidential election. But here's basically what's going on. For those of you who don't know, in 2012, the Department of Homeland Security, that's DHS, announced an immigration program known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. Most of you listening to this that follow us probably are familiar with DACA. It was a program that allowed certain unauthorized aliens who had entered the United States as children to apply for a 2-year forbearance of removal. Okay, because remember, they're technically here in violation of immigration law, right? So this was giving them a temporary 2-year forbearance of removal. In other words, they're not going to be removed from the country. And those granted such relief were also eligible to work and also to apply for various federal benefits. And this opinion says that about 700,000 aliens have availed themselves of this opportunity. Okay? So basically what we have here is children who came into the United States as children. They came with their parents. Okay? They entered unlawfully, but they were children at the time, so they had no control over how they got here. All they know is that they live in Indiana. They go to grade school in Indiana, and that's where they're growing up. Okay? And at some point they discovered that their parents entered unlawfully and that they're technically in violation of the immigration laws. So they are removable, but this is a program that is a forbearance on that. In 2017, the Attorney General advised Department of Homeland Security to rescind DACA, okay? And to distill it all down very simply, they basically said, look, this was an unlawful program to begin with. It violates the Constitution. DHS can't just arbitrarily decide that some class of people are going to get to stay while everyone else has to go. There was another program that had also been passed called DAPA, which applied to the parents of these children, and the courts had ruled that that was not constitutional, and it never went into effect. And so the Department of Homeland Security, the Attorney General advised the Department of Homeland Security rescind DACA, and the reasoning for it is just that, well, it's just the same as DAPA, and the courts have already said that's a no-go, so this should be an uncomplicated matter.
Rescinding DACA meaning get rid of DACA.
That's right.
Take it away.
That's right. Take DACA away. All right. The department's acting secretary issued a memorandum terminating the program, and basically when this all comes through the courts, okay, they had a plan, and the plan was that they were going to let people that already had DACA, they had 6 months. If their benefits were going to end in the next 6 months from this announcement in 2017, they could still renew for another 2-year period. But after that, once everybody timed out, in other words, once they just ran out of their time that they for the forbearance for being removed, then DACA was over for them. Their benefits ended, and they were subject to removal just like they had been prior to DACA being announced and put in place. All right. And what really comes into play in this case, what it really turned on, was whether or not Department of Homeland Security properly followed and complied with the Administrative Procedure Act. Okay. So the court ultimately, in this case, Roberts writing for the majority, did conclude that they did violate the Administrative Procedures Act, because they said that when they rescinded DACA, or announced that they were going to rescind DACA and wind it down, that decision was arbitrary and capricious as defined under the APA. And what that basically means, out of legal terms, is that they said that in rescinding DACA, that the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, had to show that their actions were reasonable, and they had to reasonably explain why they were doing it. And they're saying that because they didn't adequately do that, that they didn't comply with the Administrative Procedures Act, and therefore, if they want to rescind DACA, they're going to have to take another run at it. They're going to have to basically start over and come at it anew, try again. Okay. Before this case had ever gotten to the Supreme Court, several federal judges around the country, in California and New York, had ruled that rescinding DACA was going to fail in the Supreme Court, in their opinion, and so they issued injunctions on the winding down program. And so that's why, if you have DACA, you know that you have been able to renew it and you have been able to apply for it, because it was never, the winding down procedure that was put in place and announced in 2017 never went into effect because it was enjoined by other federal judges. Now, what they did say was that because this case was winding its way through the circuits and on its way to the Supreme Court, that new cases wouldn't be filed, but those who had DACA could continue to renew. Okay? So is everybody with me still?
I'm with you. I'm totally
Okay.
with you.
All right, fantastic. All right.
That's a lot of legalese there. But,
It is. So there were several grounds before the Supreme Court. Like I said, it turned on the APA. There's not any real question. The court made clear that they're not questioning the Department of Homeland Security has the authority and the power to end DACA. All the parties agree that they do, but the court said that procedurally they did not do it the right way, and so they've remanded all of these cases back for further proceedings. And so when I said at the outset here that it's a good decision for our clients but not a great decision, it's because the window is still open to rescind DACA. Basically, it lives for another day. another month, another year, who knows, maybe forever if the administration changes, or if Congress ever gets its act together and decides to actually make it a law rather than just an executive order. We'll see, okay? But at least for now, if you have DACA, you can continue to renew DACA. The administration has already announced that they are going to they're full steam ahead. They're going to get their paperwork together, they're going to refile, and they're going to go at this again. But it'll take time. It's not like and I don't see the court fast tracking it. They could, but I doubt that they will. So my guess is that at least for the foreseeable future, for several months, if you have DACA, you can rest easily for now. Okay?
Awesome. That was the 74-page opinion in 10 minutes. That was brilliant. This guy's very smart. This is why I married him. But so I wanted to talk.
I tried. I hope that was understandable.
It was. The USCIS's initial response really concerned us.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it was a very strong response to the Supreme Court's decision. And here's what they said. Just one of the sentences of multiple sentences that were really pretty heated language. Basically, USCIS said, today's court opinion has no basis in law and merely delays the president's lawful ability to end the illegal deferred action for childhood arrivals amnesty program. So you see some of the hot button words in there. You have illegal, you have amnesty, and so these are words that really trigger people who are seeing this program as unlawful and not really seeing it as 800,000 people, children brought here while they were children by their parents, and have been completely embedded in American life. And now that's going to get yanked away from them. And it was through no fault of theirs. Yeah. So, that's the way that we see DACA. We see DACA because from really the human side, the story side, the family side, because we have sat down and spoken, obviously, with our DACA clients when they come and apply for DACA, when they came and applied for DACA, when the program was first instituted. And these are your neighbors, these are your kids' friends. These are kids who speak with no accent, for those who think that's, something that's important or not important. And they really deserve some congressional action here. And so if you all are DACA and Dreamer advocates like we are, call your congressperson and try to advocate for change, because that's really what's going to be needed here in order for these folks to have a permanent solution. So,
these clients of ours, this is a really easy group of people to have sympathy for and empathy for because of their circumstances. And I agree. What really needs to happen is that Congress needs to simply make this a law, send it to the president, sign it into law, and then all this wrangling over, the Administrative Procedures Act and so forth will be a non-issue. Because this case, I've read a lot of cases, and you have a lot of concurring opinions and dissenting opinions. You always have that, and you have policy differences and different legal analysis. You don't see very often the justices just calling each other out, and there's a lot of that in this opinion, a lot of them speaking to each other through their dissenting opinions and their concurring opinions. And so there's a lot, I don't want to bore everybody, but there are a lot of interesting legal precedents and ramifications that could flow from this case down the road. And so that's for nerd legal analysis. But the key here, like Radlin said, if this is an issue that's dear to you and it's very dear to us, you should definitely call your congressperson, whoever that is, wherever you live, and really, just let them know that this is important and that they really need to make this into a law, a permanent law. All right.
Right. And Deanna says it's wrong to try to send kids and young adults back to homes they don't even know. That's absolutely correct. I mean, some of these kids came over as infants, as babies. They have no recollection of any of it. You know,
Yeah.
our kids.
Their
You
countries of birth are places where they don't even speak the language. So many of them. I mean, I've had clients who said, you know, they went to their parents when they were 15 and said, "Hey, all my friends are getting their driving permit. When are we gonna go to DMV so I can start driving?" And it's only then that they find out that, well, you're not going to be able to get a driving permit right now because there's something we haven't told you.
Right. It's the big shocker. And we have some pretty phenomenal DACA. We have some pretty phenomenal dreamers. I mean, they really are dreamers, and we're trying to get them to talk to media as well as, you know, do a video with us. But, you know, it's tough because, you know, many times their parents are undocumented, so they don't want to, you know, open up that big can of worms and put their family in jeopardy. And it's a pretty tough situation. And, you know, when John and I think about our childhoods and we think about our children's childhoods and what they are getting to do with no barriers, we feel just extremely grateful. I mean, the luck of birth in the United States, I feel extremely grateful. I know that John does, especially going through being immigration attorneys for so many years, 20 years, 21 years. And it's very, very heartbreaking. And just to think about, you know, the uncertainty that these, many of them young adults, some of them still in high school, some of them entering college, you know, just that uncertainty of what does the future hold for me? I'm a young, smart, motivated person. But what does the future hold for me? And I can only imagine, and I know for a fact that it can really bring them down sometimes. But anyhow,
there's enough controversy in immigration law, and there are plenty of opinions valid on all sides. But on this particular issue, there really doesn't need to be a whole lot of controversy, and hopefully Congress will fix this. And by the way, if anybody's interested in reading this again, it's Department of Homeland Security versus Regents of the University of California, and this opinion was decided on June 18th of this year. All right.
Awesome. Thanks.
So that's the update on DACA and the Supreme Court.
And the bottom line right now is that they are accepting renewal applications. Yes. The USCIS submitted another statement that due to federal court orders, which is the Supreme Court, USCIS has resumed accepting requests to renew a grant of deferred action under DACA. USCIS is not accepting requests from individuals who have never been granted deferred action under DACA. So, you know, I think that they should be accepting new applications, and, you know, there's a lot of room for interpretation there, and that we may see that down the line, but this is a pretty clear statement that they are not currently accepting brand new DACA applications. So we have a couple of questions. I appreciate you guys' patience during that, but it's super important, a very, very important issue. We have a question here from Huba. He says, it's been a week. Wait a minute. Yeah. It's been a week now since they've opened the immigration offices, but my friend has not received any fingerprints notice yet since hers was postponed in the month of April, and also did not even receive a reschedule. So as we talked about last week, the application support center, which administers the biometrics, and it's on the first floor of the Norfolk Immigration Office, and many times it is on the first floor of the immigration offices across the country. They have not started appointments back up yet, and the estimate is that they're going to start them up at the end of this month or the beginning of July. So don't panic too much that your friend has not received her biometrics notice, because those have not been rescheduled yet. So hopefully that helps out. Martha asked, when would people with the visa be able to come and visit? It really depends on the country that they're coming from, Martha. And we'd have to check to see whether they're under one of the countries that are currently banned from entering the United States because of COVID-19. So let's see here. All right. We've got now, this is also something that is causing a lot of fear and panic in the immigration world, and it's the president's June 24th, 2020 proclamation that I believe that came out a couple of days ago, effective June 24th. What's today? Today's effective day is today, the 24th. So what President Trump's most recent presidential proclamation states is that it is extending the April 22nd, 2020 ban that John and I talked about on April, when it went into effect, a couple of days before the effective date, through the end of the year. So through December 31st, 2020. And again, the president has leeway to extend that. You and I we didn't chuckle because it's not funny, but we just said, okay, let's see whether this is going to get extended, because it was supposed to expire at the end of this month.
And it was set to expire unless it was extended.
And it was extended, unfortunately. So that April 22 ban suspends entry into the United States of folks coming into the U.S. Based on employment-based immigrant visas. So those who have employment-based immigrant visas, they're trying to apply for the immigrant visa, also known as the lawful permanent resident status, also known as the green card, and they're trying to get a visa based on that through their employment. And so they are suspended from entering through December 31st. So this does not, there are a lot of exceptions, but just to name a few, because our clients are calling in and contacting us, it does not affect spouses of U.S. citizens and children of U.S. citizens, military, family members of U.S. military. So there are many exceptions. I'm going to throw them into the post just to make sure that you guys know what it applies to. And there are also exceptions carved out for people who are working in healthcare and helping with the COVID-19 and trying to get rid of that. So that's the April 22nd ban. Okay. So again,
and recall this was the stated reason for this was because they were going to have unemployment issues in the United States, and so the first place they turned to cut was employment.
Right. And again, the stated reason is to help our economy and to not take away jobs from unemployed Americans who are also looking for jobs. So why are we giving out these employment-based visas when we have, what's the unemployment rate right now? It's high. It's high, maybe? high. And so that's the rationale behind that. So again, this new one, it suspends and this is not good. This is not good because it extends this suspension for the issuance of visas for people who are coming in on H-1Bs. Okay. And these are positions that require specialized knowledge and that require a bachelor's degree. For H-2B workers, so those are seasonal workers. The first thing that comes to mind are landscapers, people who are here in the summer months or into the late fall doing landscaping. J visas, these are au pairs and folks who are here on the summer work travel programs. Like if you go to Busch Gardens and you see folks and they've got their name and they've got their country, typically going to be on the J1 visa program, summer work travel. And then also the L visas, intra-company transferees. These are executives, managers. And so these folks also, if they have not yet been issued this particular visa, they are not going to be allowed to get that visa until December 31st. Hopefully it doesn't get extended, but I don't know. It's super hard to say. So it's very disturbing to me as an immigration attorney because one, this is just a complete curtailing of lawful immigration, legal immigration, people who are, everyone's saying, okay, we want them to get in line. We want them to do the right thing, get in the proper, you hear that all the time. These folks are, they have their employers who are following the right process, the right procedures, and then it's just a complete shutdown. So we're just concerned about that, and it's really impacting a lot of people who are outside of the country. And again, it applies to those who are outside of the country, and there are those exceptions. But again, very, very disturbing because this proclamation is also going to take a closer look at the people who are here in the United States in these employment-based categories, and see how it's going to impact U.S. workers. So potentially you can say, oh, well, these are these visas that have already been issued here in the United States are negatively impacting U.S. workers, so let's go ahead and write those out as well. It's extremely concerning. It's a very slippery slope, and everybody hold on. Everyone hold on.
I mean, a strong economic recovery theoretically would help, but with an election season, I don't see this changing.
All right. So those are the major immigration updates, and John's going to do a quick Virginia State Courts updates to make sure you all are going to court at the right time, at the right place.
So make sure you tune in next Wednesday, because I think I'll have more updated information, because the Supreme Court of Virginia just issued yet another extension of judicial emergency for the Supreme Court until July 19th. What that means is that they have determined that there's a judicial emergency because of the COVID-19, and the courts all are required to follow the lead of the Virginia Supreme Court in many respects and what the emergency is and the time frames. That's not to say that the courts haven't been hearing cases. They have, but the fact that the Supreme Court extended this again now from, it had been set to expire on June 28th, now to July 19th, tells me that we'll probably see the local courts as well extending some of their continuances. But where we stand right now in Virginia Beach anyway, criminal cases are still going forward as scheduled, all right? And cases in traffic courtroom C, those are going to be DUIs and other cases involving ASAP and those kinds of things, alcohol cases. Those cases are also going forward as scheduled. If you have a case in traffic court, A or B, anytime between now and June 30th, those cases are being continued. You'll get notice from the court of your new court date. Again, because of the Supreme Court order, I suspect that will be extended to July 19th, but don't count on it until it actually happens, okay? But between now and June 30th, those cases are being automatically continued, and you'll get notice. When you go to the courthouse, be prepared. You will be asked some questions about your general health, any symptoms you may have. You will need a mask to enter. Anyone's welcome in the courthouse, but in order to go into the courtroom, you have to be either the judge, a sheriff's deputy, a lawyer, a defendant, or a witness in the case. Okay, so if you enjoy just going down to the courthouse and watching traffic cases all day, or criminal cases for that matter, you're going to have to wait until after COVID-19 to go back to that fun entertainment.
Some people do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there are exceptions that have been in place since the very beginning. They continue to be in place, and those are going to be arraignments, determination of counsel hearings, bond appeals, petitions for emergency protective orders, and petitions for permanent protective orders. So if you have any of those types of situations going on, you will still need to be there. And the court, again, is open. The clerk's office is open. So if you have business in the courthouse that you need to take care of, you can go. The clerk's office is operational. I would call to make sure that you're going in their restricted hours, but they are open. So that's the update for now. And next Wednesday, I should have more detail, because I have a feeling it's going to get extended again.
Excellent. I'm going to hop on really quickly and answer Martha's question about people who are coming from Mexico with a tourist visa. So I just popped up the usembassy.gov in relation to Mexico. And it says that it's temporarily limiting inbound land border crossings from Canada and Mexico to essential traveler. So what that means is that basically if you're coming into the United States for tourism purposes, sightseeing, recreation, gambling, or attending cultural events in the United States, you're not going to be able to come into the United States. And that is in effect through 11/15/20 12:59 p.m. on July 21st, 2020. So that's set to expire on July 21st. But Martha, I would definitely, before your family members or friends come to travel to the United States, to check that. It's mx.usembassy.gov, and it will update that. So essential travelers, just to go through this list really quick, it's citizens and permanent residents returning to the United States, people traveling for medical purposes, people traveling to attend educational institutions, individuals traveling to work in the United States with the proper visa, traveling for emergency and response and public health purposes, and people engaged in lawful cross-border trade, official government and diplomatic travel, and military-related operations. So if it's just to visit, then it's probably not going to happen for your family members or friends. So we had a question, and I don't know if I don't know the answer to this. What's going on with the decriminalizing marijuana, and how does that work?
Well, there have been several bills on that are still in the hopper, and honestly, there were a couple things going on. There were some things going on with marijuana. There were some things going on with driver's licenses for folks that are undocumented, and all of that has just kind of been halted as we've moved into this, this emergency period with everybody focusing on the shutdowns and the quarantines and everything else. And so I will have to see what's going on with all of those, but the last time I checked, not much. Everything is stalled, but I'll make a note. Thanks for that question. Next Wednesday, I will revisit. I'll do a legislative update and see if the General Assembly has made any movement at all on any of these things. All right.
When you say legislative update, my brain just shuts down. But I know it's important. We gotta have these updates.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So let's see. Any questions? Any questions about DACA or the most recent Trump proclamations? I was calling them executive orders, but they're called proclamations. Maybe they want to. Yep. I don't think we have any questions at the moment, so I'm just going to move forward with immigration USCIS updates, other than the DACA. So, guys, looks like furlough for about 15,000 USCIS workers is coming down the pike. It has been pushed back to August the 3rd, and some folks say it's 50-50. Some people say it's absolutely going to happen. And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for immigration attorneys, our clients, and you all who are applying for a benefit, whether it's a U.S. citizenship with the N-400, whether it's an I-130, the I-45, whatever it is, whatever you're applying for, and this application has to go to United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. If that happens, everything is going to come to a halt. Maybe not a halt, but it's going to just be like moving so slowly.
Yeah,
a real bottleneck. If this actually happens and all of these people are going to be furloughed. The good news is it will hopefully be temporary, but I mean, let's talk about, they've been shut down for 3 months, right? USCIS has been shut down with regard to doing interviews. Now, they've been extremely productive in doing non-interview cases at our local office and our local offices, and I completely commend them for that, especially our Norfolk office. But if they are down to 25% of their staff, just imagine the impact that's going to have. And we don't know yet, just with the service centers and processing these cases, what is that going to do to processing times? I mean, I have an idea what it's going to do. I've been talking about it. It's going to make things slower down the road. Maybe not today, but in a month or two. And then you on top of that, the furloughs, it's going to be pretty brutal with regard to waiting and processing time. So one, I ask for your patience with that if you already have stuff that's been filed and you're waiting. And the second thing that I want to say, which John and I have been saying for the past 3 months, is if you have not filed your application, now is the time to do it. Because the way that Immigration Service processes their cases is first in, first out, right? When you file your application, that's the moment that you get into their line.
Yep.
Okay, so the sooner you get in the line, the sooner you're going to be able to ride the ride. Just like at Busch Gardens, just like at Disney World. Get in the line. Do not wait. Do not use lack of funds for not filing your citizenship application. Go borrow the money. Go talk to your friends and let them help you out, because it's so important right now. I mean, I can really see, you know, our N400 applications are taking 6 to 8 months right now, pre-coronavirus. I mean, I can really see those taking a year and a half because of all this stuff that's happening. So really, really, really consider filing those critical applications that you really need to get those in the hopper, okay? So if you've got a parent abroad, file that I-130 petition for that parent, okay?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the I-130 petition for a parent's going to disappear. I'm not trying to cause panic and mayhem. I'm just saying, look, be practical. If you're ready to file, and who's ever ready to file except us, right? I mean, only the immigration lawyers are ready for you to file and for us to process the case. But if, you know, just file the case, guys, okay? I cannot stress that enough. Another reason to file the case now is USCIS also asked for Congress to increase fees by 10% across the board. So that's another reason. And again, I know that things have happened over the past 3 months where we're all in a holding pattern, okay? We're all in a holding pattern, okay? We're not going to do that because it's going to cost X amount of money, whatever it is. You know, I'm not going to start the diet because I want to eat all the food that's in the pantry right now and they're all unhealthy. Whatever the reason is, but you guys have got to file, and please don't make any, or try not to make any excuses. I mean, I get it, I understand, but I want you to get in line, you know? I want you to get in line, first in, first out. The sooner you get in the line, the sooner you get to go on the joy ride, okay? So
That's
just something to,
true.
yeah, just something to keep in mind. And of course, it could be more expensive down the road, or as we're seeing now, shut down on legal immigration, right? I mean, who would have thought that this would actually happen? But it is happening. And again, I'm not trying to cause mayhem or panic, but I mean, I'm surprised at all the things that are happening and kind of dismayed as well.
Yeah, I mean, just look at something like DACA that I opened up with in the case, where if you have it, you can continue to renew, but they're not taking new cases, new applications.
Right.
So,
if you did not file your DACA back in the day when it came out,
when you had the chance, you know, you're probably kicking yourself. So get in the line.
Get in the line.
The sooner the better.
Yep.
The sooner you get in it, the sooner you get out.
Okay, so Arlington Immigration Court, they are starting back with non-detained hearings on July 11th. That's for our local folks out there. And if you have a court date coming up in another jurisdiction, shoot us a message and we'll check when that court's going to open, because it all just depends on the jurisdiction and where that is located. And there are also some pretty awful asylum updates that you don't want to know about, but we're going to tell you anyway. We don't do tons of asylum, but we do some asylum at our office, and basically it's getting rid of the 30-day processing time for the initial asylum work authorization cards, the documents, the application to work. And starting August 22nd, most people who have entered the United States without inspection and then apply for asylum are no longer eligible for a work permit, employment authorization document. So that's bad news. And then they're also extending the work permit delay time from 150 days to 365 days. So just bad news for asylum, which is, again, quite a shame. I'm not going to talk about that, about what a shame it is. You guys just know that it's a shame. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what the outcome is for all that. All right. I've been talking a lot. Mm-hmm. It's your turn.
Well, I don't have much more to go. One thing I wanted to note, though, again, about the court dates, same thing with whether it's a traffic case, criminal case, immigration case. If you're one of our clients, of course, you're getting updates from us regularly about any changes in your court date. But if you're not a client of ours and you're confused about whether you have court or not, make sure that you feel free to reach out to me or a firm, and we'll find out. Even if you're not a client of ours, if you're confused about it, we'll see what we can figure out, okay, in terms of when your court
Yes,
date
it is a special perk of being a Facebook Live
That's right.
audience member. How about
Yes,
that?
there you go.
Let's
That's
call
right.
it that.
Audience member, I like that.
Yes, we're going to talk just briefly. Well, John's going to talk just briefly about the phase 3. It's phase 3, right?
Phase 3.
3, okay.
I mean, here we are. I can remember talking about phase 1. So on July 1st, Governor Northam announced that we are going to move into phase 3. There's not a lot of huge change there, and I'm not going to go over everything that's been in phase 1 and phase 2. The big ones, the gatherings can go up to, will go up to 250 people. The restaurants, which you know have been at 50% capacity for indoor dining, are going to be able to go full throttle up to 100%.
Super great news for our restaurant owner friends out there.
Yep.
Please go and support your local restaurants. They need your support.
There will be some outdoor venues like zoos, for example, reopening, albeit at limited 50% capacity. Public pools and gyms are jumping now up to 75%. So, I mean, this is all trending good. I saw the numbers that the governor's relying on, and everything in Virginia has been trending in the right direction for several weeks now. So that's good. That's some good news on top of some of this other bad news. Real quick review, because I know everybody's always asking me about the beach. I know I go over this every week, but I just want to remind everyone again, since it's summer, you are allowed to be on the beach now. Basically, the beach is back to the way it's always been. You're still supposed to not have group sports like volleyball or football. Speakers are prohibited, large coolers, alcohol, tents, and large gatherings are supposed to be discouraged on the beach.
No one's following any of that
But
stuff.
other than that, if you're in Virginia Beach, this doesn't apply to every beach in Virginia, but in Virginia Beach, basically the beach is back, which is great.
The beach is back. The germs go up into the sea, salt
to
air,
normal. That's
and
right.
out to sea.
That's right.
All right. Well, this concludes our wonderful, fabulous Facebook Live weekly every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching us. If you have any questions at all, shoot us an email at info@gmlaw.net. You can also call our office at 757-464-9224. Or super easy, if you're already on Facebook, shoot us a message through Messenger. And don't forget, we have 2 offices to serve you guys. We have our mothership office in Virginia Beach at Hilltop, 757-464-9224. Did I already do that number?
Nope.
Okay, good. And then we also have a new second location in Newport News, and the number there is 757-693-5532 if you guys would like to call and see us in Newport News.
Yep.
So we'll see you next week. We really, really appreciate your attention. And if you have any questions at all about what we've talked about, it has been a lot, please reach out to us and we're happy to clear anything up for you or help you with anything that you need.
And before we sign off, I did want to give a special thanks to my aunts who are tuning in. I saw both of you. I won't embarrass you, but one is in here in Virginia and one in Florida. And I really appreciate you all are always watching us on our Facebook Live. I'm very lucky to have such
Where are my aunts? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
They actually need, they might even need some immigration information. All right, guys, 2 thumbs up. We love hanging out with you guys on Wednesday nights and sharing this information with you. Hopefully it's been helpful. And we will see you next time.
With legislative updates.
Legislative updates. All right. Bye,
See you guys. Take care.